Hello, today I want to show you my favorite potato bread. So for the potato bread I have 280 grams of water in my mixing bowl already. I have 55 grams of water additionally here, but I will be careful and add that as needed. So you have to just play with it a little bit because it depends on what flour you use. We have 400 grams of bread flour, 100 grams of rye flour, 150 grams of cooked, peeled and mashed potatoes. Then I have 1 gram or 1/4 teaspoon of yeast and 12 grams of salt. So as mentioned, 280 grams of water are already in the KitchenAid. I will add the flours to it now. We start with the 2 flours, adding the salt, adding the yeast, and adding the mashed potatoes. Or, obviously they're not mashed potatoes, just cooked, peeled, and then mashed, no milk added. And then we get the KitchenAid started. So I will let the dough mix for my normal 8 minutes roughly, and I will just watch it if I need to add more water or not. So as I mentioned, depending on the water, depending on the flour, you sometimes need a little more, a little less water. So I like to start usually with 50-55 grams less and adding it as needed. So I'll see you in a moment. So the dough has been kneading for 8 minutes now. I have added a little bit more water, but really minimal. So I would guess maybe we're at 300 grams total. So I'll wet my hands a little bit because the dough is a little on the softer side. The advantage of this recipe is that I am baking it the night before, so it can raise up to 24 hours, so ideally anywhere between 20 and 24 hours in the refrigerator. So I'll show you that here in a second when we're putting it in. So I have prepared a plastic bowl here where I will put it in. So I cover it with a lid. And you can see here it's a fairly soft dough, but that's okay. It's with the potatoes, so we're expecting that we're getting a very moist bread out of it. So we'll just loosen it here a little bit, and we're putting it right in the plastic bowl. So we're not doing anything to it right now. And then as mentioned, we'll let it rest in the refrigerator for 20 to 24 hours. I would recommend in that period of time that you stretch it. You do the fold and stretch technique, which I will show you later on once. You can do that 2 to 3 times, and it will add some extra texture into the dough, will loosen up the gluten, and will make it really nice. So I'll just try to smoothen it a little bit in my bowl. But it's a moist dough, so it's different to some other breads that you maybe have been baking before. So that would be it. We'll cover it with the lid, and it will go in the refrigerator now. And from my perspective, let me check timing right now. It's 5:30. So the plan is that I will bake the bread tomorrow late afternoon. So I'm planning on doing the fold and stretch once tonight and then one more time in the morning and maybe in the early afternoon, but I'll report back to you. So as before, dough is in the plastic bowl, covering it with the lid. and putting it in the refrigerator. I show you here in a few hours the fold and stretch. So I show you now how we do the stretch and fold. As I mentioned earlier, this is a different consistent of dough, so it will be a little more different to do a stretch and fold, but we'll just loosen up the dough with our little tool here, little gadget that you can order on the internet, you know, or get at the store. So what I do here, I loosened it up a little bit. I'm gonna just get a little bit of flour on top of it. Nothing major, just a little bit, because we have a very soft dough, so it doesn't matter if we add in a little bit. So loosen it. And with our card, you know, we maybe widen our hands a little bit. That will help us. So stretch it, fold it. See that? Since we loosened it up with the card, it goes fairly easy. Stretch it, fold it. Stretch and fold. We work that around in a circle as good as we can with the fairly soft dough. If you need to add a little more flour, but I will be careful there. Well, wetting your hand again. Stretch and fold. And we'll work as much as we can around as a circle, and you will feel the difference when you no longer can kind of punch it down. Then it's enough. So if you need to, you know, loosen it up one more time, down. And when it gets nice and firm, then we're pretty much done for it. And as mentioned earlier, I would do that 3 times during that whole process. Try to turn it around before, put the lid back on, and put it back in the fridge. Let it rest for another 4, 6, 8 hours, do another punch, and keep repeating that for 2 more times. So we're back. I had the bread now in the refrigerator for 13 hours, and then I was doing my second stretch and fold this morning. And since the temperatures dropped here in our area, I let the final rise happen on the kitchen counter. So meanwhile, it has been 20 hours that the dough has been rising, and so that's how it looks like right now. Look here, it turned out really nice. It's kind of getting a couple bubbles already, and I had it, you know, I did stretch and fold for 2 times now. So we'll take it out. We'll do the final stretch and fold, forming the loaf and putting it in the proving basket. Let me just wipe my hands a little bit. And as we had seen, you know, yesterday, look here, it's really nice and bubbly. So as we had seen yesterday, it is a dough with a higher hydration. It's a little on the softer side, and you know, I used a little bit of flour every time I did the stretch and fold. And as you had seen in my video earlier, I did the stretch and fold in the bowl, so I didn't really take it out of the bowl because it was you know, stickier, that I didn't really want it like that on the kitchen counter. So we'll put a little bit of flour on it, you know, and we'll do the final stretch and fold. Yes, I know it's a little frustrating if it's so sticky, but on the other hand, we will see it in the final result of the loaf later on. So just a little more here, and I can touch it. There we go. So stretch it, fold it, stretch it, fold it down. That's sometimes easier said than done. It's a little sticky, but there we go. A little water helps. Same here again. Stretch and punch down. But you can tell here already, you know, how nice and bubbly it is. So we'll do this a couple times so it gets a little firmer, especially since my last stretch and fold has been, you know, quite a few hours now. I will write down in my comment section for you at what time I did the stretch and fold, so you get a rough idea. But I just do it sometimes, as you know, the way we sleep in, whatever my schedule is, and I work with it around. So. And most likely, let's say you're in a higher temperature area or it's just summertime, you might just keep it in the refrigerator and take it out a couple hours before you do the final stretch and fold and final forming. So one last time here. So one, twice. And since it's stickier, we'll just do it like 3 times, 4 times. And then we'll turn it around. And I'll put a little more flour here under it while I'll turn it. There we go. And then I'll go around and form it. Just use the palms of my hands and get it in a nice round shape. And then we'll put it upside down in the proving basket. There we go. I have prepared the proving basket. I used it without the linen. Put a lot of flour in it, and I'll put I'll have to just leave it on the side. I'll show you. I'll just take it and put it upside down in there, and then we'll let it rise for another 30 to 45 minutes, and we'll cover it with a towel again, and I show you the next step when the 30 to 45 minutes would be over. In the meantime, we will be preheating our oven, no convection again. So preheating it to 450 Fahrenheit. I am using my cast iron skillet. So I will put the cast iron skillet with the lid in the oven during that preheating circle, and I show you the rest when we put the bread in the oven. Okay, we're back. The dough has done its final, or meanwhile I can call it the bread, has done its final rising here in the proving basket. So we are ready to turn it around and scar the bread and then put it in the preheated oven. So I like to use a parchment paper. I usually fold like this and cut off the corners so it is easier to be put in my cast iron oven here in a moment. I'll put that on top. I use a plate which has exactly the diameter than the basket, so that works very easy. Put that on top, turn it around, and here we go. Oh wow, it looks good. So here's our potato bread. So we do the scarring today. I kind of had in mind, I'm still practicing that a little bit, but I'll do a side scar, and I want to put a star on top. So let's start with the star. I used that serrated knife, and I have a plate here as well. So sometimes I'll still play with both. Do it like this. And I want to get it a little deeper. I use the plate in a moment. Do it like that. Burn it. That would be easier, most likely. So I'm going to use the razor blade and go a little deeper. So like this. Here we go. A little more here. More on that side, and a little here. And we'll give it one little one on the side just in case, so it doesn't break our star, hopefully. So I put a little bit more flour on top of it. Sometimes I do it before, sometimes I do it after the scarring. Just a little extra around here. And I see I need to do a little deeper on that side. Here, there we go. Looks good. Perfect. Okay, so we'll move that away a little bit so I can show you my cast iron oven, which is super, super hot. So I need a, here we go. Close the oven again. And we'll open it. Put the, oh, you can see the steam now. Put the lid aside and slide the bread right into it. Okay, there we go. Put the lid back on and put it in the preheated oven at 450 for 20 minutes with the lid on. So I'm back now. My bread is done, and I had it in the oven 25 minutes with the lid on at 450. Then I took the lid off, another 10 minutes at 425, and for the final 15 minutes I baked it with no lid on at 400. I know from other ovens that mine is on the darker side, so you maybe have to watch it a little bit on your side. You maybe can leave it a little longer on the higher temperatures. But that's the final results. Let me get my cloth back on. So that's the bread as I took it out of the oven, and I'll move this a little bit so you can, when I take it off, here we'll do it like that. That's the final bread, and I'll show you in a second. Let me just move my thing over. We get a little extra space here, and we can take a look at the bread together here in the center. We'll move it over here. Look at the scarring there. If we turn it around, I need my gloves on there. It's still fairly hot. It's a nice crust. It sounds wonderful that it's supposed to be like that. And that's the final result. So we're doing the final cutting now. We'll take a look into the bread here. Oh, wow, nice and crusty. Oh, you can't smell it there, but I can. It smells delicious. Oh, still warm. Take a look. Wow. Please like our video and feel free to subscribe at the bottom so you get all the updates. We're usually posting at least 1 to 2 recipes on the weekend.